He is a prolific scholar, author of over 130 research papers, and has mentored 21 PhDs and 3 LLBs. His academic journey has taken him to 30 plus countries, reflecting his deep commitment to global legal discourse. Professor Rao sir has also served as chairman of a board of governors, Asia Law Institute, and continues to a voice of wisdom and reform in legal education. Now he joined us to speak on from awareness to advocacy why legal education matter, a theme that echoes his lifelong mission of empowering minds through law. Sir, we are deeply privileged to have you with us. The virtual stage is yours, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So both light and sound are effective. Okay. And can I start?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Thank you very much. May Goddess Saraswati bless this wonderful bunch of youngsters for having taken such a noble initiative of what we call Nyaya Spandana. What a word you have chosen. Spandana means heart throb. Shakespeare long ago said in The Merchant of Venice to the character Portia, you should not only have a functioning brain, but also a functioning heart. Otherwise, justice would become a casualty to the character Portia. All of us have functioning brains. And that's the reason why we are privileged to have access to good institutions in life. But how many of us have functioning hearts? The middle stick in the heart throb. As somebody said, when you feel pain, it shows that you are alive. But when you feel somebody else's pain, it shows you are a human being. How many of us are human beings? When I say how many of us are human beings, remember, being human, remember, that's the best difference of a human being. Swami Vivekananda was once asked a question. Swamiji, you have the privilege of interacting with Goddess daily. We are ordinary mortals. We don't have that privilege. But through you, can we know how Goddess Durga Mata, Saraswati looks like? Every evening you chat with her. You know what Swamiji said? Is there God? Is there goddess? There is no God. But it did not stop there. My definition of God, Vivekananda said, perfect human being is God. Imperfect God is human being. How beautifully I put it. Perfect human being is God. Imperfect God is human being. And the education is that removes those imperfections and makes human beings perfect. And Swamiji said, that which bridges the distance between a human being and being human is education. And this is what you mean by Spandana. My congratulations to the youngsters for having conceptualized the idea of Nyaya Spandana to speak about social justice, pro bono, and above all, responsible and responsive advocates for the cause of the administration of justice. Therefore, the distance between human being and being human will be covered by education, much less legal education. Swamiji said in that context, education is not information, but formation. Formation of a complete human being. We may be informed, but T.S. Eliot asked the question, where is the knowledge we have lost in information? And where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? We may be informed, we may be having information, we may be having knowledge, but have we acquired wisdom? Rabindranath Tagore wonderfully observes, remember, acquisition of knowledge is different from assimilation of knowledge. All of us have acquired knowledge, otherwise we will not be here. And when you have acquired knowledge, you can deliver lectures, you can share it with people. But Only when you assimilate knowledge, by which Tagore meant realization of inner truth, only when you realize that inner truth, people can say we have full knowledge of it, full wisdom of it. Because that will be the Eureka moment, like Archimedes, who said Eureka when he was excited. Because all said and done, knowledge starts with a question mark and ends with an exclamation mark. And therefore, when you speak about why legal education matters from awareness to advocacy, I would start with some why education matters. And what is education? Remember, information is not education. And somebody has said, education is what remains in my mind after I forget everything taught in a school. Remember, Mark Twain said, I have not let education interfere, schooling interfere with my education. I have not let schooling interfere with my education. That means education is something more than that. That's the reason why we also say a teacher in the classroom also, its ardent duty, its onerous responsibility is not to cover the syllabus. Covering the syllabus anyone can do, sharing the information, but to uncover the syllabus, to remove the cover of darkness, from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge, from here to eternity. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. That's what you mean by education. And therefore, if we have education in the real sense of the term, you will have real legal education in the real sense of the term. Remember, you are organizing this program in the month of August, the month which gave us independence. We got liberated from the colonial yoke, and we are looking forward to centenary celebrations in 2047 with Vikshit Bharat. Okay. And remember, lawyers provided the front arm of the freedom movement. Two-thirds of the members of the Constitutional Assembly were lawyers. Therefore, epoch-making contribution of lawyers and legal profession should not be ignored. And moreover, the Constitution of India, in its 395 articles and 12 schedules, makes mention only about legal profession, no other profession is mentioned. Okay, why? Around Article 22, Clause 1, to be defended by a legal practitioner, one choice. That means you have constitutionally ordained responsibility. And what is that constitutionally ordained responsibility? A legal professional, whatever he does, he must have Constitution of India at the back of his mind, and he must have Constitution of India at the center of his heart. And when you say it is constitutionally ordained profession rather, please remember that the preamble aspirations mentioned in the Constitution of India, justice, liberty, equality, and dignity. And the condition precedent for liberty is equality. If you simply have political equality, Ambedkar said it's not enough. You need to have economic equality. And in India, poor are poor not because they don't have money, but because they have lack of access to institutions. Lack of access to many of the good things in life makes you poor. Therefore, we the privileged, don't we have an onerous responsibility with the heart to throb to make those hapless millions gain access to the institutions? The most important institution among them being institutions administering justice. Always lawyers, judges, they speak about mounting arrears in the courts of law and the so-called docket explosion. Thousands of courts are pending. But in my opinion, it is less dangerous than docket exclusion. How many of the people can afford to go to a court of law in India. So the value of anything would be tested on the barometer of accessibility, availability, and affordability. Now, people say if you go to a court of law, if you lose the case, you cry in the court. If you win the case, you come outside and cry because you are not able to execute it. Therefore, what is the responsibility of the legal professionals? To rise above their self-interest and to help the deprived sections have access. Here, let me tell you, today we are through a crisis situation. There is crisis of confidence in the institutions, including courts. And there is a responsibility on our part to restore the levels of confidence. And lawyers who are supposed to be officers of the court, to help the court in finding out the truth and in the administration of justice, how responsible and how responsive they are, let us ask. Sugata Bakshi, from the Mind Tree, one of the persons who is in charge of skill development in India, has written a book called The Professional. And in that book, he says, unfortunately, we call lawyers, engineers, doctors as professionals. They are not professionals, he says. They are only professionally qualified people. And a professionally qualified person to become a professional requires two qualities. What are these? He must add integrity to whatever he does. And he must leave the footprints on the sands of time. And then only he becomes a professional. In that sense, how many of the lawyers are true professionals? If I share with you, youngsters, one information about a phenomena called lawyer bashing by the society, you will be shocked. Lawyer bashing, social bashing. In the United States, when a survey was carried out, the survey showed that only 10% of the advocates are honest. And senior lawyers have expressed their opinion. We have stopped going to social gatherings because people started making fun of the lawyers. This is what is called social bashing. So why the credibility level has touched such abysmal depths? All because of the unlimited greed, remember. And therefore, lawyers should not only have awareness, but should work towards what we call as pro bono lawyering. Now, pro bono lawyering not to help the society, to help themselves. I have a very bad throat. Let me have a glass of water and before I resume. So this lawyer bashing makes lawyers stay away from the society. And therefore, don't you think the time has now come for us, youngsters, to restore the levels of confidence in legal profession? Because please remember, legal profession is called a learned profession, not because you display learning, but because you are required to show exemplary conduct and character, which is a consequence of that learning. You are required to show exemplary conduct and character, which is a consequence of that learning. Therefore, it is known as legal profession. And therefore, it's called a learned profession. But then, to make legal professionals responsible and responsive, what role should education play? Now, don't think that India has too many law colleges. I don't agree with that. There may be more than 1,700, 1,750 law colleges in different parts of the country. But when you look at the proportion of lawyers to the population, it is much less than some of the countries. And therefore, there is a need for lawyers. Why? Human rights will have locomotion only when they have eloquent spokespersons. There is a responsibility for lawyers to make others eloquent spokespersons to become themselves eloquent spokespersons. So, what is happening in law colleges? Fundamentally speaking, I personally feel most of the law colleges and law schools teach answer to the question, is it legal? They never answer the question, is it right? Remember, there's a lot of difference between is it legal and is it right? So as youngsters, start asking for yourself the question, is it right? Not is it legal? Because what is right will automatically become legal. So, yato dharmaha tato jayaha. That's what the inscription at the entrance of the Supreme Court says. And therefore, in law colleges, are you teaching ethics? Are you teaching clinical legal education, legal aid seriously or in a ritualistic way? There's a paper called Professional Ethics. At the end of the last year, as though you are required to perform a ritual, you teach, saying that Advocates Act misconduct, etc. That is not true. Remember, I tell you, youngsters, the function of law is to secure the desirable and to prevent the undesirable. But if law has not been able to secure the desirable, it is because law is not the only agent of social control. Ethical foundations, value judgment, they are the agents of social control. And therefore, remember, you are required to teach ethics. You are required to teach moral values and human rights, not as separate papers. Even when you teach law of contracts, even when you teach law of crimes, you can teach from ethics perspective instead of teaching it in a ritualistic manner. Because ultimately speaking, what is required is a good human being. Please remember, Adl Warren, the former Chief Justice of the United States, when he was addressing Yale law graduates, he was asked a question. From among the Yale law graduates, whom would you appoint as judicial officers? You know, with a smile, he said, I will appoint a good human being who also knows a bit of law. He did not say, I will take gold medalists. That means legal education also must produce good human beings. The focus should be on bringing out the best from you with the heart to throb so that you will be serving the society. And that is what is called developing pro bono culture. In 2009, a very interesting incident happened in the United States. He was a Yale Law School graduate. His name is Mark Levy. He was a gold medalist. He joined the legal profession with a lot of ideas. And then, in 2009, he committed suicide. And his parting sentence was, I liked the profession of law, but I hated the business of law. I liked the profession of law, but I hated the business of law. 250 law firms control the entire legal profession in the United States. And that is fast spreading to India also. Therefore, ethical values based on truth, love, compassion, and what I should say, character must be inculcated. Law students must be taught from first day. You make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. You make a life by what you give. Therefore, have that enlightened self-interest. Don't focus too much on Statue of Liberty. You need to focus on Statue of Accountability also. Please remember, law students and lawyers, we are among the 5% of the microscopic privileged few to have access to law schools in India. When you are studying law, somebody is basking under the sun. Remember, expecting that after you complete the study of law, you will do something. And therefore, become a foot soldier of legal aid. Become a foot soldier of pro bono lawyering. Speak to him about the constitutional rights. Aware, make them enlightened. And for that, remember, you should have enlightened self-interest. Then our surroundings around us will become more safe and more secure. This is what you mean by awareness, where legal education needs to play an important role. That means a stage has come where, remember, a young student who joins law with all ideals, by the time he comes to third year, he loses all the ideals if it's a 5 year course, and he walks unwittingly into the corporate culture if it's a national law school, and it becomes indifferent if some other law schools. And therefore, there's a tremendous responsibility on all the stakeholders of legal education to inculcate these values so that the constitutionally ordained legal profession, as it is, would fulfill all the constitutional aspirations and goals as envisaged in the Constitution of India. Thank you very much for this wonderful afternoon. I have another meeting at 2 o'clock. May Goddess Saraswati bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your discussion.
Can I take leave?